It's the time to get down.
It's time! Marijuana for Dummies! Oh, that takes the breath out of me. You guys, Marijuana for Dummies, where we attempt to inform you the latest goings on. So often we also deal with the miseducation of marijuana. So here at Marijuana for Dummies, we seek to educate and inform as part of our mission. And I also let you know about, what I'm smoking.
Okay.
Now, what I'm smoking today, you guys, now remember, I've recommended in the past that in the morning, that a sativa is more appropriate for a lot of us because the physical sedative effects of an indica will often send you back to bed. Now, fortunately, I got up this morning because I smoked what was left in the pipe. I ended up having a morning initially with some indica before I switched to the sativa. So, I'm ready for sleep now. No. Just remember, these things are important. Check yourself out and part of what I've been doing is advising people to take it easy because the marijuana today, the potency is such that it's just very strong. It's not what you're used to. This is not your childhood marijuana. When your teenage year or whatever, when you were smoking back in the 60s and 70s for some of my colleagues, friends. It's not that marijuana. So you got to take it easy. You got to go slower, check the way you feel. But marijuana is becoming increasingly accepted. And now, today, I have good news. Well, first, take a look. I've said for a long time that marijuana should be, again, with the research being done, helpful with PTSD. Well, the American Legion has officially started to petition the federal government to increase veterans' access to medical marijuana. Take a look. Go to this article from Mass Roots where I go. Okay, it's from the American Legion. Let me quote. More than half the states in the union have passed medical marijuana laws to date. This reads a resolution which is adopted this past Thursday by the American Legion, which has more than 2.4 million members. The American Legion urges the United States government to permit VA medical providers to be able to discuss with veterans the use of marijuana for medical purposes and recommend it in those states where medical marijuana laws exist. I said this. And the can of worm, admittedly, that it opens up is that once you go on and recognize medical marijuana as being the treatment that it is legitimately and with the outcomes that it has legitimately, at that point, providers should be able to prescribe it and people should have to pay. Can you imagine getting marijuana and having Kaiser pay for it? You go into the shop and bring a marijuana prescription, and if it's a legal, recognized medical therapy,
right,
that's the can of worms. If it's a legal, recognized medical marijuana therapy, then you're going to have to give it.
Give me the relative to morphine.
Oh, well, depends what you're trying to treat. Because usually those types of drugs should be really reserved for people in significant pain.
Right.
Marijuana is not an anesthetic,
right,
but it seems to help people to tolerate the bad feelings. In other words, it doesn't necessarily relieve pain,
right,
but you don't mind it as much.
Is it more euphoric?
It can be,
right,
depending on what you're doing and what kinds of stuff. In many instances, it's not. I smoke. You smoke. You've been around me smoking for whatever, 20, 30 years. And I don't know if I've had a euphoric day in 20 years. And so once you have been smoking, I know I'm a long-time smoker,
right,
I have no euphoria at all.
No, only women give you euphoria.
And less and less.
That's it, right?
Less and less of that.
Okay.
So the American Legion, I just want you to know, the
saying?
American Legion, that's what they're going, okay?
All right.
And so another thing is that veterinarians, a group of members of the American Veterinary Medical Association, the AMVA, approved a resolution urging the organization's board of directors to investigate working with other research organizations and medical stakeholders to reclassify cannabis. Okay? This is in order to facilitate research opportunities for veterinary and human medical uses. So the American Veterinary Medical Association wants cannabis to be researched more heavily for animal use.
Right.
And this is an organization that was founded in 1863, represents more than 89,000 vets across the United States. Okay?
Okay.
And they also encouraging its members to develop and distribute, this is according to their site, literature on marijuana's legal status, research on the medical uses, and the signs, symptoms, and treatments of cannabis toxicosis. Because some people are leaving their weed out and it gets eaten. It's like too much catnip.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that's serious.
All right. And again, adding to the previous, one other item adding to the previous is that now PTSD in Minnesota, Vic, see, now you got your opening case.
Right.
PTSD in Minnesota now qualifies for medical cannabis treatment. I'll say it again.
See.
PTSD
Right.
in Minnesota now qualifies for medical marijuana treatment.
Right.
That means that you're going to have the regular people are going to have to pay for that treatment.
Right.
So the government's going to buy your weed.
And I'm saying that's why I add, because isn't the is the treatment about morphine because of the severity of how severe the illness or whatever they're going through, or is it about cost, affordability, and the profit to the utilization of it? What comes first? And
Well, it's more the politics because morphine, specific. Well, I think let's just say you mean opiates.
Yep.
Because it could be different ones.
Yes.
Definitely reserved for the treatment of pain. Addiction is an issue with all of them for the most part.
Right.
Okay, so that's a different thing. Now, if you can decrease the use, it's definitely there are some because marijuana. The positives weren't researched as much until recently. But there's data now that marijuana decreases your use of those opiates. So the people who use marijuana, medical marijuana, use less of the addicting medications.
Now, is there a reason why you don't see this as some form of commercial presentation, say from the industry that says, look, this is what we found. Let's put it out there because it's the education part of it. But you don't really see that. You don't see the qualifications coming from it the way you're speaking.
Well,
to it
that's
right now.
why we're doing it. That's why, and to your suggestion, the top we use as a headline the miseducation of marijuana.
Right.
Because we actually are going against the miseducation of marijuana, highlighting it and then trying to be. Before there was no information, well, certainly you don't have it coming from the traditional structures.
True.
And that exists today.
Right.
But more and more, you have other folks, and a lot of the newer research is coming to the internet. So a lot of the newer research, of which there's only a little,
Right.
but at least it gets covered because they're tied into the web kind of politically,
Right.
and so you end up using sites, but again, not through the major media.
Okay.
Not through the major media. Okay.
All right.
For today's strain review, I'm going to talk about sour diesel because I bought half an ounce. I tell you right now, I told you an ounce of top quality here in Los Angeles, about $205. Okay, and they get a free soda. When I say a free soda, a free marijuana soda. I got a whole refrigerator full of those damn marijuana.
I'm leaving that one
I just
alone.
hope Vic don't sleep. Mix. Vic, look at the labels of the sodas.
I do.
Tell Miko too. Don't
I do.
'cause I have some sodas in the refrigerator.
That just don't qualify.
Don't get the wrong soda.
Some people like to do things on call it an accident. It was intentful.
That'll be your excuse.
Right.
Some of the strains are getting known because, well, what happens, at least in California, is that when you run a dispensary, you're allowed to develop and distribute a strain, your own strains.
Right.
And so one of the strains that's very well known nationally and even internationally is sour diesel. And it's really it's a hybrid, which means it has some of the functions, the effects of a indica and some of a sativa,
Right.
but it's what they call sativa dominant. In fact, people, for example, here they say it's extremely sativa dominant.
Okay.
That means it leans more toward a sativa than it does toward an indica. Okay, and it says it's particularly good to reduce stress, anxiety, depression, and pain. The point I make up that I really like about marijuana, and to try to break it down to a feeling, it's specifically good for stress and anxiety. Let me give you an example. Let's say your loved one says some stuff that really pisses you off, so much that you really want to put your foot in their ass, okay? But you can't do that because you know that's wrong. You know that you should be in a higher plane, but you're mad. You're angry, hostile, and you want to strike out. Marijuana is particularly good for that, to mellow you out. If you go sit down in a quiet place, put on some Yanni. Oh, no, just kidding. Put on some mellow music and smoke. It'll help reduce that. If you have some anxiety about a bill, or some procedure that you're about to go through, it can help relax you for those things too.
Okay.
So when you have money stress and you just find yourself uptight,
Right.
if you could spare a little money to get some weed, you can go chill outside and then you'll be mellower. And so the point I'm making is that attention to the treatment of stress is an area yet to be looked at specifically, and I'm suggesting for someone like me,
Right.
dealing with my diagnoses of spinal stenosis, while I'm always sitting through a lot of these things,
Right.
that it helps dealing with that.
Okay.
Sour diesel, you guys, you can usually find it. I just got I'll tell you, half an ounce of this. Love that sour diesel. I'm smoking a little bit right now. It's wonderful stuff. Again here, marijuana for dummies. Yes. That's it. 420 friendly. Oh. Marijuana for dummies.